Mr. Speaker, we have a proud tradition of freedom under the rule of law in this country, and I would remind honourable members on all sides that it dates back centuries to Magna Carta, not just 1998. The Bill of Rights is the next chapter in the evolution and the strengthening of our human rights framework. It's published today and available online and, I believe, in the Vote Office. Mr. Speaker, let me turn to the key strands of our reforms. First, and again to remind the House, as I said when we launched the consultation back in December, the UK intends to remain a state party to the European Convention on Human Rights. It is a common sense set of principles, and the problems that we have encountered have stemmed from the elastic interpretations and the expansion, absent meaningful democratic oversight, in particular as a result of the procedural framework set out in the Human Rights Act. And so, Mr. Speaker, our key objectives with reform are to reinforce those quintessentially UK-wide rights, like freedom of speech, the liberty that guards all of the others, and we will also recognise the role of jury trial, mindful of how it operates in different parts of the United Kingdom, and something which is not prevalent on the continent, but is very much part of the heritage and the pedigree of this country. These liberties are part of our proud history, but they're also critical to strengthening our place in the world as an open, vibrant and rambunctious democracy. Mr. Speaker, next we will strengthen the separation of powers in this country, affirming the supremacy of the Supreme Court, being explicit that the UK courts are under no obligation to follow the Strasbourg case law and indeed are free to diverge from it. I'm proud of our world-beating judiciary. And what else is the point? What else is the point of a Supreme Court if it bows in subordination to a European one? Mr. Speaker, we've also seen the goalposts on human rights shift over time through expansive judicial interpretations licensed by the Human Rights Act, which has tended to magnify overweening rulings from Strasbourg. Although it is worth noting, in fairness, that there has been more judicial restraint in Strasbourg on occasion in recent times. Nevertheless, Mr. Speaker, what ebbs may flow, and we will ensure in our Bill of Rights that any expansion of human rights law, as opposed to its interpretation, is subject to proper democratic oversight by elected members in this House. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, our Bill of Rights will strengthen our proud tradition of freedom. It will demarcate a clearer separation of powers. It will ensure greater respect for our democratic institutions, and it will better protect the public and restore a healthy dose of common sense to the justice system, which is essential for commanding public confidence. Ultimately, it will make us freer, it will help keep our streets safer, and I commend this statement to the House.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, this is a very dark day for victims of crime, for women, for people in care, for everyone in this country who rely on the state to protect them from harm. This is not a Bill of Rights, it's a con. The Lord Chancellor knows this because he's been working on it for over a decade. We know from the Queen's speech that this bill will take away the duty of the state to protect everyone from harm by removing the positive obligations set out in the Human Rights Act. It will force victims of crime seeking justice to schlep to Strasbourg, creating endless delays and red tape. Sir Peter Gross and the review panel doesn't think the Human Rights Act undermines parliamentary sovereignty or that the UK courts are undermined by the European Court. So why proceed with this bill in the first place? It's because this is a government that looks to pick a fight to cover up its own failures and then finds someone else to blame. We've seen a succession of Conservative members do this in the form of blaming the European Court to deflect from their bungled and unworkable asylum policy. Some, shamefully, have even demanded that the UK withdraws altogether from the European Convention of Human Rights. For members of the party of Churchill, who inspired the European Convention of Human Rights to want to do away with it altogether, is really quite something. I gather that he doesn't want to withdraw from the European Convention, not least because he knows it would fatally undermine the Good Friday Agreement and peace in Northern Ireland. So will he now condemn members of his own party who have made this dangerous and reckless demand?